My mom showed up at my door with a suitcase, saying she was moving in because I owed her care. When I blocked the door, she screamed, "I should have left you at the hospital when you were born." I just stared at her. That was 10 months ago. Yesterday, she was led out of court in handcuffs, screaming my name. My mom spent my whole life treating me like trash, but now that she's old and sick, she suddenly thinks I owe her free care. I shut the door in her face. I grew up with a mother who never really wanted me. At least, that's how it always felt. She loved telling people I had to grow up fast because I had her, like I was some kind of burden she never asked for. From the time I could remember, she made it clear I was on my own. When I was 8, I wanted to join an after-school art program. She said, "Do you think we're made of money? Besides, you're not talented. Don't embarrass yourself." 2 weeks later, she bought my cousin, her favorite, an expensive keyboard for music lessons because she has potential. At 10, I asked for help with a school project. She told me, "I'm not your teacher. Figure it out yourself." But when my younger brother needed help, she sat with him for hours. When I was sick at 12 and had a fever, she still made me cook dinner for the family. I burned the rice, and she yelled at me in front of everyone, "See? You can't even do the simplest thing right." At 15, I wanted to get a part-time job to save for college. She told me, "Why bother? Girls like you end up married and working in a grocery store." My brother got a job the next year, and she bragged to everyone about how independent he was. When I turned 18 and got into a decent college, she refused to help me with the application for financial aid. She said, "If you can't figure it out, you don't deserve to go." I ended up missing the deadline and had to take a gap year to work. During that gap year, I paid for all my own clothes, books, and food most days. She still asked me for money sometimes, saying, "It's just a small loan, I'll pay you back," and never did. I eventually moved out at 20 and have been fully independent since. I worked 2 jobs to put myself through college. I called her occasionally, but our conversations were always short, and she usually found a way to criticize me. "Your hair is too messy. You're getting too skinny. You think you're better than me now?" She never once visited me during my college years, even when I invited her to my graduation. She said, "I don't have the time or money to waste on that." A few months ago, she called out of the blue. She said she was getting older and had some health issues. Then she said, "I've decided you'll be the one to take care of me. You're single and don't have kids, so you have the time." I asked her why she thought I'd be the one to do it. She said, "Because you're my daughter. That's what daughters are for." I reminded her that she never supported me or even acted like she wanted me around. She replied, "Don't bring up the past. I did my best. You're being dramatic." When I refused, she got nasty. "You're ungrateful. I gave you life and you can't even give back when I need you. What kind of daughter abandons her own mother?" I told her she had other options: home care services, my brother, or even her sisters. She scoffed, "Your brother has a family. He can't be bothered with this. And my sisters are busy. You, on the other hand, owe me." Over the next few weeks, she called multiple times, each time trying a different approach. Sometimes she cried on the phone saying, "I'll probably die alone, but at least you won't be inconvenienced." Other times, she'd get angry. "You think you're better than me just because you went to college. Remember, without me, you wouldn't even be here." She also tried to make me look bad to relatives. I got a text from my aunt saying, "Your mom says you refuse to help her when she's sick. That's cold." I replied, explaining the years of neglect. My aunt said, "Well, that's in the past. She's still your mother." Last week, she showed up at my apartment without warning, suitcase in hand. She said, "I'm moving in. It'll be easier this way." I told her she couldn't stay. She tried to push past me into the apartment. I blocked her and said firmly that she needed to leave. She started yelling, "This is what I get for raising you? I should have left you at the hospital when you were born." That comment hit hard, but I didn't back down. I called a taxi for her and told her to go back home. She cursed at me the whole way to the curb. After she left, I blocked her number. I called my landlord and told him not to let anyone in without my permission. I also reached out to her local community center and gave them her info so they could connect her with services for seniors who need help. I haven't heard from her since, but I did get a message from my brother. "Thanks for handling mom's care stuff. I couldn't deal with it." That told me everything I needed to know. Everyone just assumed I'd do it because I'm the daughter. Now I live in peace. I cook in my own kitchen without being criticized. I sleep without worrying about surprise knocks at the door, and I spend my time building a life I actually want. She wanted a caretaker. What she really needed was someone to finally say no to her, and I'm glad I was that person. Last night, just as I was about to fall asleep, there was a knock at my door. I froze. It was past midnight. I checked the people, and there she was, standing in the hallway with no suitcase this time, just a strange, satisfied smile. "I found a way to make you let me in," she said. My whole body went cold as she pulled out a folder from behind her back and waved it at the people. I backed away from the door and grabbed my phone with shaking hands. The numbers blurred as I tried to dial 911. She kept talking through the door about some emergency conservatorship and how the papers meant I had to take care of her now. The operator answered, and I whispered that my mother was at my door making threats. She asked if there was immediate danger of violence. I said no, and she told me this sounded like a civil matter, but they'd send someone for a wellness check. Through the door, Margaret started wailing so loud I knew the whole floor could hear her. She was crying about her own daughter calling the police on a sick old woman and how all the neighbors would know what kind of person I was. I sat on my couch and waited. 20 minutes later, 2 officers showed up, and I watched through the people as they found her sitting on the hallway floor with her folder spread out around her. She showed them papers and started telling them I was mentally unstable and she was just trying to help me. Officer Martinez knocked on my door and asked to speak with me while his partner stayed with Margaret. I opened the door and stepped into the hallway. My voice stayed steady as I explained the years of neglect and how she'd been harassing me for weeks. He took notes in a small notebook and looked at the papers she'd brought. He said they looked suspicious because Colorado requires actual court hearings for conservatorships, not just paperwork someone fills out. The officers went back to Margaret and told her the documents weren't valid court orders and she needed to leave the property immediately. She grabbed her chest and started gasping about chest pains. They called paramedics while I stood in my doorway watching her performance. The paramedics arrived and checked her blood pressure and heart rate and oxygen levels. They found nothing wrong. After everyone finally left, I went back inside and locked my door. I sat in my dark apartment and every little sound from the hallway made me jump. I opened my laptop and emailed my landlord about what happened and asked if I could get a security camera for my door. Sleep didn't come until the sun was already coming up. My phone buzzed the next morning with a text from Daniel asking what I did, because mom was was at the hospital saying I gave her a heart attack. I didn't respond, but took a screenshot of his message. My phone showed